The cold emptiness of space stretched endlessly in all directions. Nothing moved here between the star systems, where light from distant suns barely reached. It was the perfect place to hide something for millions of years. The ship appeared on their sensors like a ghost materializing from nothing. Commander Zexathara's crystalline body flickered with surprise as the massive object filled the viewing screen of the research vessel Astral Dawn. The ancient ship was huge, stretching over 50 kilometers from front to back. It drifted silently through the void, dark and still. "How long has it been here?" asked Dr. Kiranal, her insect-like head tilting as she studied the readings. The Kethran scientist's compound eyes reflected the blue glow of the scanner displays. Zexathara's voice sounded like wind chimes in a gentle breeze. "The energy decay patterns suggest millions of years. Maybe more. This ship is older than any known civilization in our galaxy." The Galactic Council had sent their best research team to investigate the strange energy signatures detected in this empty region of space. 12 different alien species worked together on the Astral Dawn, each bringing their unique abilities to solve the galaxy's mysteries. They had expected to find an unusual asteroid or maybe the remains of an ancient battle. They had not expected to find this. The derelict vessel was unlike anything in their databases. Its design seemed to flow like water frozen in time, with curves that felt organic mixed with sharp geometric angles. The hull material reflected their scanner beams in ways that made no sense. Sometimes it looked like metal, other times like crystal, and occasionally like something else entirely. "Look at these energy readings," said Unit 7, the mechanical being's voice buzzing with electronic tones. The ForgeMind sensors were built into its body, making it the most accurate scanner they had. "The ship shows signs of activity. Internal systems are still functioning at minimal levels. This was impossible. Nothing could maintain power for millions of years without fuel or maintenance. Yet their instruments clearly showed energy flowing through the ancient vessel's systems like blood through sleeping veins." Dr. Alex Carter floated near the back of the command center, watching the alien scientists work. The human was the youngest member of the team and the least experienced. Earth had only joined the outer circles of the Galactic Council 20 years ago, and humans were still considered primitive by galactic standards. Alex was here mainly as an observer, learning from the advanced alien civilizations, but Alex was fascinated by what they were seeing. The ship's design reminded him of something, though he could not say what. The way the curves flowed into angles felt familiar somehow, like a half-remembered dream. "We should board it," Alex said quietly. The other scientists turned to look at him. Some seemed amused by the young human's eagerness. Others appeared annoyed at the interruption. Zexathara's crystalline form pulsed with soft light. "Of course we will board it, Dr. Carter. But first we must run complete scans and establish safety protocols. This vessel is ancient beyond measure. We cannot simply rush inside like explorers from your adventure stories." Alex felt his cheeks grow warm with embarrassment. The aliens were right, of course. Humans were known for their impulsive nature, their tendency to act before thinking things through completely. It was one of the reasons the Galactic Council was hesitant to trust them with important missions. For the next 6 hours, the research team ran every scan their advanced technology could provide. They mapped the ship's structure, analyzed its hull composition, and searched for any signs of danger. The vessel appeared to be completely inactive except for those mysterious minimal power readings. Dr. Veltar, a gaseous being from the Wraith realm, was the first to attempt contact. The Wraith forms could phase through solid matter and interface directly with most computer systems. Veltar's cloudy form passed through the hull of the ancient ship and disappeared inside. 30 minutes later, Veltar returned, his gaseous body swirling with frustration. "I cannot access any systems," he reported. "The ship's computers do not respond to my presence. It is as if they cannot sense me at all." This was strange. Wraith form beings could communicate with almost any electronic system in the galaxy. Their quantum-based consciousness could adapt to different programming languages and interface protocols automatically. Next, the Kethran tried their bio-neural networks. Dr. Kiranal extended thin organic cables from her body, pressing them against the ship's hull. The cables could hack into most biological or electronic systems by mimicking their natural communication methods, but after an hour of trying, Kiranal withdrew her cables in defeat. "The ship ignores my attempts to connect," she reported. "My bio-neural interface receives no response. It is like trying to speak to a stone." The mechanical forge mines had the most advanced data link systems in the galaxy. Unit 7 and its partner Unit 12 approached the ancient vessel and extended probe arms that could interface with any known computer system. Their attempts were also completely unsuccessful. One by one, each species tried to make contact with the mysterious ship using their most advanced technologies. The crystalline beings tried harmonic resonance communication. The energy-based life forms attempted direct power coupling. The silicon-based species used mineral interface protocols. Nothing worked. The ancient ship remained completely silent and unresponsive to all their efforts. It was as if the vessel was somehow sleeping and could not be awakened by any of their methods. Alex watched these attempts with growing interest. Each species was far more advanced than humanity in their own ways. The Veltari had mastered crystal technology thousands of years before humans discovered fire. The Kethrin had developed bioneural networks that could hack into almost any system. The forge mines were artificial beings with computational power that dwarfed human computers. Yet none of them could even get the ancient ship to acknowledge their presence. Perhaps, Alex said carefully, someone should try a more direct approach. Commander Zexthera's crystal body dimmed with what might have been annoyance. Dr. Carter, we have tried 12 different advanced communication methods. What could your species possibly contribute that we have not already attempted? Alex felt the familiar sting of being dismissed because of his humanity. But something about the ship called to him. He could not explain the feeling, but he was certain that their high-tech approaches were missing something important. Maybe that's the problem, Alex said. Maybe it doesn't respond to advanced technology. Maybe it needs something simpler. The alien scientists exchanged glances that clearly said they thought the human was being naive. But they had run out of other options. Finally, Commander Zexthera made a decision that would change everything. Very well, Dr. Carter. You may attempt to make contact with the vessel, but you will follow all safety protocols and maintain constant communication with the Astral Dawn. Alex nodded, his heart beating faster with excitement and nervousness. Soon he would discover that some things in the universe had been waiting a very long time for humanity to find them. Alex floated through the empty space between the Astral Dawn and the ancient ship, wearing only a standard environmental suit. The alien scientists watched from their research vessel, their various forms of vision tracking his progress. Some watched with scientific curiosity, others with barely hidden doubt about what the primitive human could accomplish. The ancient vessel grew larger as Alex approached it. Up close, the ship's hull was even more mysterious than their scans had suggested. The surface seemed to shift and change as he looked at it, as if the material itself was alive and dreaming. Strange patterns flowed beneath the surface like slow lightning frozen in. Crystal Alex reached out with one gloved hand and gently touched the ship's hull. The response was immediate and overwhelming. Light exploded across the ancient vessel's surface, racing along lines and curves that had been invisible moments before. The patterns spread like fire, illuminating the ship's massive structure in waves of blue and gold radiance. Systems that had been dormant for millions of years suddenly hummed to life with barely contained power. On the Astral Dawn, alarm sounds filled the command center as energy readings spiked beyond their instruments' ability to measure. Commander Zexthera's crystalline body blazed with shock and amazement. Impossible, whispered Unit 7. The power output is increasing by factors of thousands. How is this happening? Alex felt the vibration through his gloved hand as the ship's systems awakened. But instead of fear, he felt an odd sense of welcome, as if the ancient vessel was greeting an old friend who had been away for too long. The main airlock, which had remained sealed despite all their previous attempts, began to cycle open with a soft hiss of equalizing atmosphere. Alex, came Zexthera's voice through his comm system. What is your status? The ship's energy signature has completely changed. Alex stared at the opening airlock, his mouth dry with amazement. It's welcoming me in, he said quietly. I think it wants me to come aboard. Absolutely not. Dr. Kiranal's voice buzzed through the comm. We have no idea what that vessel might do to you. Return to the Astral Dawn immediately. But Alex was already moving toward the airlock. Something deep inside him knew this was safe, knew this was right. The ship had been waiting and now it had found what it was looking for. He passed through the airlock into a corridor that lit up as his boots touched the deck. The lighting was soft and warm, nothing like the harsh illumination used by most galactic civilizations. The corridor stretched ahead of him, with walls that seemed to bend light in beautiful ways. Everything was sized perfectly for a human, as if the ship had been designed specifically for beings like him. Alex walked forward, and the ship responded to his presence. Lights activated in sequence ahead of him, creating a path deeper into the vessel. Environmental readings on his suit showed that the atmosphere was becoming breathable, with oxygen levels rising to match human needs perfectly. "This is impossible," he whispered to himself. How could a ship millions of years old know exactly what kind of atmosphere humans needed to survive? The corridor led to a larger chamber filled with what could only be control panels and display screens. As Alex entered, holographic displays sprang to life around him, showing images and text in a script he had never seen before. Yet somehow, as he looked at the symbols, their meaning began to make sense to him. Star charts, technical readouts, and what appeared to be a greeting message written in flowing script that felt almost familiar. "Alex," Zexthera's voice crackled through his comm. "We are detecting massive data transfers within the ship. Something is analyzing your biological patterns and matching them against stored templates. You need to leave that vessel immediately." But Alex could not tear himself away from what he was seeing. The holographic displays showed thousands of star systems, many of which he recognized from galactic charts. Earth's sun appeared in the display, highlighted with special markers that suggested it was important somehow. More displays activated, showing genetic patterns and biological data. Alex's scientific training helped him recognize DNA sequences, evolutionary trees, and species classification systems. But this was far more advanced than anything human science had developed. The ship's computer seemed to know everything about biological life in the galaxy. "It's a library," Alex said in wonder. "This ship contains information about every living species in the galaxy." The ship's system seemed to respond to his voice. New displays appeared, focusing on human genetic patterns. Alex saw DNA sequences that perfectly matched human biology, alongside comparative data from dozens of other species. But the human data was marked with special symbols that suggested it was particularly important. Then something extraordinary happened. The ship's artificial intelligence made contact with him directly. Alex felt a presence in his mind, gentle but incredibly ancient. It did not force its way into his thoughts but rather offered itself, waiting for permission to communicate. When Alex did not resist, images began to flow into his consciousness. He saw the galaxy as it had been billions of years ago, when only one species had achieved true intelligence. These beings called themselves something that translated, roughly as the predecessors. They had been masters of science and technology beyond anything the current galactic civilizations had achieved, but they had also been dying. The images showed Alex how the predecessors had solved every problem, eliminated every challenge, and created a perfect civilization. But in doing so, they had also eliminated the very struggles that had made them strong. Without challenges to overcome, they had grown stagnant. Their birth rates had dropped, their curiosity had faded, and their will to explore and grow had simply disappeared. Realizing their mistake too late, the predecessors had designed ships like this one. These vessels were sent out to seed the galaxy with new forms of life, species that would carry forward the best qualities of the predecessors while avoiding their fatal flaws. The presence in Alex's mind showed him genetic templates, evolutionary guides, and biological blueprints. Species after species had been designed and planted on suitable worlds throughout the galaxy. The Kethran, the Veltari, the Forge Mines, and dozens of others had all been created by the predecessors as their children and inheritors. But humanity was different. The images showed Alex that humans were the predecessors' final and most important creation. While other species had been designed with specific strengths, humans had been created to be adaptable above all else. They were designed to maintain their curiosity and drive to explore no matter how advanced they became. The ship had been waiting for humanity to develop space travel and find it. This was both a test and an inheritance, a way for the predecessors to evaluate whether their final creation was ready for the next step. Alex staggered as the mental contact ended, his mind reeling from what he had learned. The ship's AI waited patiently for him to process the information, its presence warm and reassuring in his thoughts. "Commander," Alex said into his comm, his voice shaking with excitement and disbelief, "you need to contact Earth immediately, and the Galactic Council. What I've found here changes everything we thought we knew about the galaxy. On the Astral Dawn, The alien scientists watched their displays in amazement as the ancient ship continued to reveal its secrets. Energy patterns flowed through systems that had been dead for millions of years. Data streams poured from the vessel's computers, but only Alex seemed able to understand any of it. Commander Zexathara made the decision that would shake the foundations of galactic civilization. She opened communication channels to every major world in the Galactic Council, preparing to share news that would change how every species saw themselves and their place in the universe. The ancient ship had finally found the beings it had been waiting for, and its long vigil was coming to an end. But for humanity and the rest of the galaxy, the greatest adventure in their history was just beginning. Alex spent hours exploring deeper into the ancient ship, each step revealing more impossible wonders. The vessel's artificial intelligence guided him through corridors that seemed to reshape themselves as he walked, always leading him toward chambers filled with knowledge that humanity could barely comprehend. In one massive hall, holographic displays showed the complete genetic history of the galaxy. Alex watched in amazement as evolutionary trees spread out before him like the branches of an enormous cosmic family. Every species in the Galactic Council was represented, along with hundreds of others he had never heard of. At the base of each evolutionary tree was the same symbol, a marker indicating predecessor involvement in that species' development. The aliens had not evolved naturally. They had all been designed and guided by the galaxy's first intelligent species. But when Alex found humanity's tree, he discovered something that made his hands tremble. The human evolutionary line was marked with special symbols that meant final project and inheritor protocol. Humanity was not just another created species. They were the predecessor's last and most important work. The ship's AI appeared to him again, this time taking a more solid holographic form. The figure was tall and graceful, with features that seemed to shift between familiar and alien. When it spoke, Alex heard the voice both in his ears and directly in his mind. "Welcome, young inheritor," the AI said. "I have waited so long for your species to find me. My creators called me Guardian, and I have been the keeper of their final gift to the galaxy." Alex found his voice after a moment of stunned silence. "Why humans? Why did the predecessors choose us as inheritors?" Guardian's holographic form smiled sadly. "Because you were designed to avoid our creator's greatest mistake. The predecessors became too perfect, too comfortable. They eliminated all challenge from their lives and lost the very drive that had made them great. But humans were designed differently." The AI gestured and new displays appeared around them. These showed human history from the beginning. The struggles, the wars, the constant push to explore and grow despite setbacks and failures. "Look at your species' history," Guardian continued. "Humans have faced extinction many times, yet you always found ways to survive and adapt. You have been given great intelligence, but not so much that you stop asking questions. You have been granted the ability to work together, but also the independence to think for yourselves. Most importantly, you were designed to maintain your curiosity no matter how much you learn." Alex watched holographic humans explore their world, develop technology, reach for the stars, and eventually join the galactic community. Even as they advanced, they never lost their drive to discover new things and face new challenges. The other species were given specific gifts, Guardian explained. The Veltari were designed to be masters of crystal technology. The Kethran were created to understand biological systems. The Forge Mines were built to process information perfectly. But humans were given the gift of adaptability itself. As if responding to the AI's words, Alex's comm system crackled to life. Captain Lisa Park's voice came through from the human research vessel New Horizon, which had just arrived in the system. "Alex, we're getting reports from the Galactic Council that are hard to believe. Are you saying this ship proves all galactic species were artificially created?" Alex looked around at the vast chamber full of genetic data and evolutionary records. "More than that, Captain. This ship contains proof that humans are somehow central to the predecessor's plan for the galaxy." The implications were staggering. On worlds throughout the galaxy, the news was spreading like wildfire. Some species reacted with disbelief, refusing to accept that their proud civilizations were the products of ancient engineering. Others were angry, feeling diminished by the revelation that they had not evolved naturally. But the most dangerous reactions came from species that saw this as an opportunity. If humans were truly the designated inheritors of the galaxy's oldest civilization, then controlling humanity might mean controlling access to unimaginable power and knowledge. Guardian seemed to sense Alex's concerns. Your species faces a test now, the AI said. The knowledge I carry could advance human civilization by millions of years. I can show you technologies that would make you the dominant force in the galaxy within a single generation. Alex felt a chill run down his spine. That's exactly what destroyed the predecessors, isn't it? Too much advancement too quickly. The AI nodded approvingly. You understand the danger. This is why you were chosen. Previous species we tested could not resist the temptation of instant advancement. They either demanded immediate access to all our knowledge or rejected it entirely out of fear. New displays activated around them, showing failed civilizations that had encountered predecessor technology before. Some had used advanced knowledge to conquer their neighbors, becoming tyrants that eventually destroyed themselves through war. Others had become completely dependent on predecessor gifts, losing all ability to innovate or adapt on their own. But you have a choice that we did not offer them. Guardian continued. You can choose how much knowledge to accept and how quickly to integrate it. The predecessors hoped that their final creation would find a better balance. Alex's mind raced as he considered the possibilities. Humanity could gain access to technologies beyond their wildest dreams, but only if they could avoid the mistakes that had destroyed their creators. The ship suddenly vibrated around them and warning lights began to flash. Guardian's expression became concerned as it accessed the ship's sensors. We are no longer alone, the AI announced. 3 Galactic Council fleets have arrived in this system. Their intent appears to be hostile. Through the ship's viewing portals, Alex could see the sleek forms of alien warships taking positions around the ancient vessel. The largest fleet belonged to the militant Krexani, a warrior species that had always resented humanity's rapid advancement in galactic politics. Captain Park's voice crackled through the comm with urgency. Alex, you need to get out of there now. The Krexani are demanding that the Council seize the ancient ship and place it under joint control. They're claiming that no single species should have access to this level of technology. But even as the alien fleets moved to surround them, more ships were arriving. Human vessels from Earth were jumping into the system, along with ships from species that supported humanity's claim to the inheritance. Guardian turned to Alex with an expression of ancient sadness. This is what destroyed my creators in the end. The fear that others would gain an advantage. The desire to control power instead of sharing it wisely. Your species must choose quickly. Will you repeat the mistakes of the past or will you find a better way? Alex looked out at the gathering fleets, knowing that the next few hours would determine not just humanity's future, but the fate of the entire galaxy. The predecessor's final test was about to begin, and the stakes could not be higher. The ancient ship hummed with barely contained power as its systems reached full activation. After millions of years of waiting, Guardian was prepared to finally complete its mission, but the outcome would depend entirely on the choices made by the young human standing in its command center, surrounded by the accumulated wisdom of the galaxy's first civilization. Warships gathered outside while inside the ancient vessel. The future of galactic civilization hung in the balance. The tension in space around the ancient ship grew thicker by the hour. More than 30 warships from different species now surrounded the vessel, their weapons powered but not yet aimed. The Krexani war fleet hung in space like metal predators, while human ships from Earth formed a protective screen around their lone researcher, trapped inside the mysterious ship. Alex stood in the command center, watching the tactical displays as Guardian showed him the positions of every vessel in the area. The AI's holographic form flickered with what might have been concern as it monitored the growing hostility outside. Your species' first test has arrived sooner than expected, Guardian said quietly. How humanity handles this crisis will determine whether you are truly ready for what I offer. Captain Jake Morrison's voice crackled through Alex's comm from the Earth Defense Force flagship. Alex, we've got a problem. The Galactic Council is demanding an emergency session to decide what to do with the ancient ship. Some species are calling for it to be destroyed rather than let any one civilization control it. The situation was spiraling out of control. Fear and greed were driving species that had worked together for centuries to the edge of open conflict. The Krexani were broadcasting demands for immediate access to the ship's technology. The Veltari claimed that as the galaxy's most advanced crystal-based civilization, they should be the ones to study the vessel. Even normally peaceful species were positioning their ships defensively, afraid of being left behind if others gained access to predecessor knowledge. Alex felt the weight of responsibility crushing down on him. One wrong decision could start a war that would tear apart the Galactic Council and potentially destroy civilizations across the galaxy. Guardian seemed to sense his distress. Would you like to see what happened to previous species who faced this test? Before Alex could answer, the chamber filled with holographic images showing the last days of several ancient civilizations. He watched in horror as species after species had torn themselves apart, fighting over predecessor technology. Some had used the advanced knowledge to conquer their neighbors. Others had become so dependent on artificial enhancement that they forgot how to think for themselves. Every species we tested failed, Guardian explained sadly. They were either too aggressive, trying to use our gifts to dominate others, or too cautious, refusing to accept any advancement at all. Both paths led to stagnation and eventual decline. Alex studied the historical records, looking for patterns that might help him understand what made humanity different. Slowly, an idea began to form in his mind. Guardian, what if the test isn't about choosing between accepting or rejecting the technology? What if it's about finding a completely different approach? The AI's holographic form paused, its ancient programming analyzing this unexpected response. Explain your reasoning, inheritor. Alex took a deep breath and activated his comm to broadcast on all frequencies, so that every ship in the area could hear him. This is Dr. Alex Carter aboard the predecessor vessel. I'm speaking to all fleet commanders and council representatives. The tactical displays showed ships adjusting their positions as every species focused their attention on the human's words. I've spent the last 2 days learning about the predecessors and why they built this ship, Alex continued. They created all of our species because they made a terrible mistake. They became so advanced that they lost the very qualities that had made them strong in the first place. On the Krexani flagship, war leader Thekmor snarled into his communicator. Humans, cease this delay and surrender the alien technology immediately. Your primitive species has no right to hoard such power. But Alex pressed on, his voice carrying across space to every listening ship. The predecessors didn't want to create a single master species. They wanted to create a galaxy full of different civilizations, each with unique strengths, so that we could all learn from each other and grow together. Guardian watched with growing interest as Alex laid out his reasoning. This approach was indeed different from anything previous test subjects had attempted. Right now we're all making the same mistake the predecessors made, Alex said. We're so focused on gaining advantage over each other that we're forgetting what really makes us strong. Our diversity, our different ways of thinking and solving problems. Dr. Nina Rodriguez's voice came through the comm from the human philosophy vessel that had just arrived. Alex, what are you proposing? Alex looked around the ancient command center at all the knowledge and technology that could transform galactic civilization. I'm proposing that we share it, all of it, with everyone. The comm channels erupted with voices as species representatives reacted with shock, disbelief, and anger to this suggestion, but Alex continued before anyone could cut him off. Guardian, show them the species comparison data. Show them how each civilization was designed with different strengths. The ancient ship projected holographic displays visible to all the surrounding vessels. The images showed how the Veltari's crystal technology could be enhanced by Kethran biological systems. How ForgeMind computational abilities could be improved by incorporating Wraithform quantum consciousness techniques. How human adaptability could help all species integrate new knowledge without losing their essential characteristics. The predecessors created us to work together, Alex said. Not to compete, but to complement each other. If we try to hoard this knowledge for individual advantage, we'll just repeat their mistake and destroy ourselves. Engineer Sam Collins spoke up from the human research vessel. But Alex, some of this technology is incredibly dangerous. What if it falls into the wrong hands? Guardian's holographic form nodded approvingly at this concern. Your engineer raises an important point, inheritor. How would you address the risks? Alex had been thinking about this problem since he first saw the scope of the predecessor's knowledge. We create a new kind of council, not just for politics and trade, but for managing dangerous knowledge. Every major decision about advanced technology gets made by representatives from all species working together. The idea was radical. It would require unprecedented cooperation between civilizations that had often been rivals or enemies. But as Alex explained his vision, some of the hostility in the surrounding fleets began to fade. Commander Zex Thera's voice came from the astral dawn, her crystal tones thoughtful. You are suggesting that no species, not even humanity, would control this technology alone? That's exactly what I'm suggesting, Alex replied. Humanity doesn't want to rule the galaxy. We want to help it grow stronger and more diverse, not more uniform. War Leader Thekmore's objections were predictable. This is weakness, human. Power shared is power wasted. The strong should lead and the weak should follow. But other voices were beginning to speak up in support of Alex's proposal. Captain Lisa Park transmitted from her position near the ancient ship. The Krexani way of thinking is exactly what destroyed the predecessors. They became so focused on being strong that they forgot why strength matters. Guardian had been silent during this exchange, processing the unprecedented nature of Alex's approach. Finally, the AI spoke, its voice carrying a note of wonder. In all my millions of years of waiting, no species has ever proposed voluntary sharing of power as a solution to the inheritance test. Your approach is unexpected. The ancient ship's systems hummed with increased activity as Guardian began running complex calculations. I must evaluate whether this approach would be acceptable to my creator's original programming. As the AI worked, the space around them filled with tense waiting. Ships from dozens of species held their positions, weapons ready but not yet firing. The fate of galactic civilization hung in the balance, dependent on whether an ancient artificial intelligence would accept humanity's radical proposal for cooperation instead of competition. Alex waited in the command center, knowing that the next few minutes would determine whether the galaxy would move forward together or tear itself apart in a war over the remnants of a dead civilization. Guardian's holographic form stood perfectly still for what felt like hours, though Alex knew only minutes were passing. The ancient AI was processing calculations that had been built into its core programming millions of years ago, evaluating whether humanity's proposal met the criteria its creators had established. Around them, the ship's systems hummed with incredible activity. Displays showed data streams flowing through networks that spanned the entire vessel. As Guardian consulted databases and decision trees that contained the accumulated wisdom of the galaxy's first civilization. Finally, the AI's form solidified again, and when it spoke, there was something like amazement in its voice. Your approach satisfies the primary directive in ways my creators never anticipated, Guardian announced. They programmed me to find a species that could avoid their mistakes while still advancing galactic civilization. Voluntary power sharing as a fundamental principle was not something they considered possible. Alex felt relief wash over him, but Guardian raised a hand in warning. However, your proposal will require proof that it can work in practice. I am authorized to release limited technology and knowledge, but the greater inheritance must wait until your cooperative approach proves successful. The ancient ship began to change around them. New displays activated, showing star charts that extended far beyond current galactic borders. Technical specifications appeared for technologies that could revolutionize energy production, space travel, and communication across the galaxy. I will provide 3 gifts to demonstrate your approach, Guardian said. First, medical knowledge that will help all species extend their lifespans and improve their health. Second, energy production techniques that will end resource scarcity throughout the galaxy. Third, communication technology that will allow instant contact between any points in the galaxy, no matter how distant. Alex's breath caught in his throat. Any one of these technologies would transform civilization. Together, they would create a galaxy of abundance where species could focus on growth and exploration instead of competing for limited resources. But, Guardian continued, this knowledge will only be released if all major galactic species agree to form the cooperative council you have proposed. And the council must prove it can function effectively for a full galactic year before I will release additional technologies. Alex opened his comm channels to broadcast Guardian's offer to all the fleets surrounding them. You heard the terms, he said. We can have technologies that will benefit everyone, but only if we can learn to work together. The response was immediate and chaotic. Some species representatives demanded more details about the technologies. Others argued about the composition and authority of the proposed council. War Leader Thekmore continued to insist that the strong should rule and the weak should obey, but other voices were beginning to support the proposal. Commander Zexathara's crystalline tones carried clearly across the comm channels. The Veltari have always believed that knowledge grows stronger when it is shared rather than hoarded. We support the humans' proposal. Dr. Kiranal spoke for the Kethron. Our biological systems are designed for cooperation and mutual support. We also agree to attempt this cooperative approach. One by one, other species began to voice their support. The potential benefits were too great to ignore, and the alternative was a destructive war that would leave everyone weakened. Only the Krexani and a few other militant species continued to object, but they were outnumbered by those willing to try something new. Captain Lisa Park's voice came through clearly from the New Horizon. Alex, how do we make this work practically? Who leads this council? How are decisions made? Alex looked to Guardian, who nodded approvingly at the question. The AI is willing to provide guidance on council structure, but the final decisions have to be ours. Over the next several hours, with Guardian's advice and input from representatives of every major species, they hammered out the basic structure of what would become known as the Cooperative Development Council. Decisions would require consensus from at least 3/4 of member species. No single species could hold more than 1/5 of the council seats, preventing any civilization from dominating the others. Most importantly, the Council's mandate would be to ensure that advanced technologies were shared in ways that strengthened galactic civilization as a whole, rather than giving advantage to individual species. War leader Thekmore made one final attempt to derail the agreement. "This is madness," he broadcast. "You are giving away humanity's rightful inheritance. When the other species inevitably betray you, do not expect the Krexani to come to your aid." But Alex had been thinking about this objection throughout the negotiations. Guardian, show him the data on what happened to species that tried to keep predecessor technology for themselves. The ancient ship projected images of civilizations that had attempted to use advanced knowledge for conquest or dominance. Without exception, they had either destroyed themselves through war or stagnated into irrelevance when their advantages made life too easy. "The inheritance isn't about gaining power over others," Alex said quietly. "It's about helping everyone reach their potential. That's what the predecessors really wanted to achieve." Guardian's form began to fade as the AI prepared to initiate the first technology transfers. "The medical knowledge is being transmitted now to all participating species. Energy production data will follow in one standard day, and communication technology after that." Alex watched the ancient ship begin to power down to more sustainable levels as Guardian redistributed its knowledge. But he knew this was just the beginning. "What happens to you now?" Alex asked the fading AI. "I will remain here to monitor your progress and provide guidance when needed," Guardian replied. "But my active phase is ending. The galaxy's future is now in the hands of its living inhabitants, as my creators intended." The holographic form smiled one last time before disappearing, leaving Alex alone in the command center. Around him, displays showed the first medical data being received and analyzed by research teams from dozens of species. Alex activated his comm for one final broadcast to the assembled fleets. "The ancient ship will remain here as a neutral meeting place for the Cooperative Development Council. Any species that wants to join our agreement is welcome. Those that don't want to participate won't be forced, but they also won't receive access to the shared technologies." As he spoke, the ancient ship began to move for the first time in millions of years. It positioned itself at a stable point in space that would be accessible to all galactic species, where it would serve as a symbol of cooperation rather than competition. Dr. Nina Rodriguez's voice carried warmth and pride as she addressed Alex. "You did something incredible here. You found a way to turn the galaxy's greatest potential conflict into its greatest opportunity for unity." Alex looked out at the stars, knowing that other predecessor ships were scattered throughout the galaxy, waiting to see if this experiment in cooperation would succeed. If it did, they would reveal themselves and share even greater knowledge. If it failed, they would remain hidden until another species might be ready to try. But for the first time since discovering the ancient ship, Alex felt truly optimistic about the future. Humanity had passed its first test not by proving they were stronger or smarter than other species, but by proving they could bring out the best in everyone. The galaxy was about to enter a new age of cooperation and shared growth. And at the center of it all, an ancient ship that had waited millions of years for someone to choose wisdom over power continued its patient vigil, ready to help guide galactic civilization toward the bright future its creators had always hoped to see. The inheritance had finally been claimed, not by conquest but by the simple revolutionary act of deciding to share it with everyone.